Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the ever merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuhu. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon you, dear viewers. Welcome to tonight's lecture, organized by the UK Talim Department. As per our tradition, we will start the program with the recitation of the Holy Quran. Could I kindly request Labib Sahib to deliver the tilawat and its English translation, please?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وعد الله الذين آمنوا منكم وعملوا الصالحات ليستخلفنهم في الأرض كما استخلف الذين من قبلهم وليمكنن لهم دينهم الذي ارتضى لهم وليبدلنهم من بعد خوفهم أمنا يعبدونني لا يشركون بي شيئا ومن كفر بعد ذلك فأولئك هم الفاسقون وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأطيعوا الرسول لعلكم ترحمون. Translation. In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Ever Merciful. Allah has promised to those among you who believe and do good works that He will surely make them successors in the earth as He made successors from among those who were before them, and that He will surely establish for them their religion, which He has chosen for them, and that He will surely give them in exchange security and peace after their fear. They will worship me, and they will not associate anything with me. Then whoso is ungrateful after that, they will be the rebellious. And observe prayer and give the zakat, and obey the messenger, that you may be shown mercy. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah. Tonight, we have the pleasure and privilege of being joined by Laiq Tahir Sahib. Laiq Sahib is currently serving as Murrabi-e-Silsila in the UK and served as Naib Vakil Tabshir Rabwa between 1982 to 1986. He is also currently serving in the Tarbiyat department since August 2020. It gives me great pleasure to hand over to Laiq Tahir Sahib to deliver tonight's lecture.
Rabbi Sahib, you have to unmute your mic.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Very warm Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to all the viewers. My brothers and sisters, you should remember that it is Allah who elects a Khalifa. Outwardly saying, people elect him. But as I'll prove through so many illustrations in a few minutes, we come to know that it is Allah who asks people to cast their vote in favor of a person who is most beloved of God. And Number two, the moment Allah Ta'ala elects a Khalifa, at the same time Allah Ta'ala starts speaking with him. This person who is elected as Khalifa, he is empowered with the miraculous spiritual power. Allah Ta'ala accepts his prayers because he knows that from now on, million over million people will request him to pray for them. Allah gives him a most powerful weapon of acceptance of prayers. I remember when Huzur was elected as Khalifa, our present Huzur, I asked Sheikh Mubarak Sahib, who was at that time Nazir Baitul Mal, and now he is Nazir Rishta Nata. I asked him, tell me anything about Huzur. He said, Huzur used to offer his nawafil, and he used to take so much time. They were so lengthy nawafil that it was almost impossible for somebody to speak to him. And any Nazir or so on, if he had to go on a tour, daure par jana hota tha, then these people used to sit next to Huzur. And when Huzur said, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum, immediately this person will tell him that Huzur, he was not Huzur anyway, he was Nazir-e-Ala and Amir-e-Muqami, that I am going on a tour, so please kindly permit me to visit this and this Jamaat. And after this, again, Huzur will engage in lengthy nawafil and supplications to Allah Ta'ala. As I said, that Allah gives a person who is elected as Khalifa a most powerful weapon of acceptance of prayers. I remember when Hazrat Khalifa Salih Rahimullah was elected as Khalifa, he said, because he was elected a Khalifa after a lengthy ailment of Hazrat Khalifa Sani Radhiyallahu Ta'ala anhu, and certain weaknesses had crept in certain members of the Jamaat. So he says that I said to myself, I will straighten them out. I will straighten them out. Maine theek kar dunga. He says, immediately I was revealed, nahi nahi, ye meri bahut pyari Jamaat hai. It is my most beloved Jamaat. Treat them with love and affection. And I also remember when Hazrat Khalifa Khamis Sayyidullah Ta'ala bin Aziz was elected as Khalifa of the Jamaat. On the second or third day, Huzur said, Allah has started speaking with me. So this is the case with the Khalifa of the Jamaat, that Allah loves him, Allah speaks with him, Allah accepts his prayers. Long time ago, once a friend of mine, Chaudhry Khwaja Ahmad, who lived in Croydon at that time, he came to Rabwa to visit there, and we were walking near Masjid Aqsa Rabwa. He said to me, Laiq Sahib, I have seen in a dream that Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Salih's turban is on the head of Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad Sahib. I said to him, keep it to yourself. Do not disclose it to anybody else. Because the reason was, during the lifetime of a Khalifa, we just cannot speak about another Khalifa after him. So I said, just keep it to yourself. Because I remembered a very important incident. You know, Khalifa Harun Rashid, he had two sons. One was Mamunur Rashid and one was Aminur Rashid. Aminur Rashid was his son from his wife Zubaydah, and Mamun was a son from a bondwoman, from a slave girl. And Mamun Rashid, he was very intelligent and very loyal also. Zubaydah wanted his son Aminu Rashid to be the next Khalifa. And Harun Rashid wanted that Mamun should be the next Khalifa after him. So he said to Zubaydah, look, I send a courtier to both of them. First of all, he will go to Aminu Rashid and tell him that, Huzur, when by the grace of Allah you become a Khalifa tomorrow, please be kind to me and look after me. Aminu Rashid said, of course, why not? I will definitely look after you, and you'll be one of the most important people. He came back and told Zubaydah and Harun Rashid that this is the answer by Aminu Rashid. Then he said, go and say the same thing to Mamun Rashid and see how he behaves. So when he went to Mamun Rashid was writing something. He had a stone ink pot, very heavy one, in front of him, and he was taking some ink from there and writing something. When he said to Mamun Rashid, sir, I pray to Allah Ta'ala that you become the Khalifa tomorrow, he took the ink pot and hit him very forcefully and said, do you think that my father should die and then I should become a Khalifa? So this was the reason I said to Khwaj Sahib that during the lifetime, we never discuss who is going to be the Khalifa. The same thing Hazrat Khalifa Sani, Radiallahu Ta'ala anhu, he was not Khalifa at that time, Hazrat Mirza Mahmud Ahmad Sahib. During the last few days of Hazrat Khalifa Awwal Radiallahu Ta'ala anhu, he used to say to Maulvi Muhammad Ali Sahib and the Lahoris, who became Lahori later, that we are not allowed to discuss about the future Khalifa during the lifetime of a Khalifa who is with us at the moment. So this we should remember always. Another incident that how Allah Ta'ala elects a Khalifa and how Allah Ta'ala informs his saintly and godly people that who is going to be the future Khalifa. When Hazrat Khalifa Rabi Rahimullah passed away, Amir Sahib of Mauritius was traveling from Mauritius to London. It's a long journey. He has written that I never knew anybody at the headquarters in Rabwa. And I was praying to Allah Ta'ala that, oh my Lord, you guide me, you tell me, I do not know anybody. And that who should be the future Khalifa. He said that I was lost in my prayers. And another Ahmadi from Mauritius was sitting to my right-hand side. I wrote on a piece of paper something and handed over to my fellow who was coming with me from Mauritius. And I put this piece of paper in an envelope and said to him, do not open it at all until the election of the next Khalifa takes place. So he kept it to himself. And after the election, when he opened the envelope, there was written Mirza Masroor Ahmad Sahib. So this is how Allah Ta'ala himself reveals to his godly and saintly people that who is going to lead the Jamaat, because this is Allah's Jamaat. And it is Allah who appoints people to help us. My father-in-law, Maulana Abul Munirul Haq Sahib, he mentioned a dream years before, during the lifetime of Hazrat Sahibzada Mirza Tahir Ahmad Sahib, Khalifatul Masih Hirrabe. He wrote this dream and the family members knew it. He saw in a dream that there are two garlands. One is large one and the one is small one. And he saw in the dream that the large garland has been put in the neck of Hazrat Sahibzada Mirza Masroor Ahmad Sahib, and the small one in the neck of Hazrat Mirza Khurshid Ahmad Sahib. And he interpreted himself that the future Khalifa will be, inshallah, Mirza Masroor Ahmad Sahib, and Mirza Khurshid Ahmad Sahib is going to become Amir-e-Muqami instead. So exactly this thing happened. I remember Sayyid Tahir Ahmad Sahib, after the election of Hazrat Khalifa Khamis, Sayyid Allah Ta'ala bin Asalajiz, was sitting next to me in Islamabad. I told him this dream, and he said, yet Amir-e-Muqami and Nazir Allah has not been appointed by Huzur. So let us see, but this is the dream which my father-in-law had seen, and after a week it was decided by Huzur and Warayadullah Ta'ala anhu that Mirza Khurshid Ahmad Sahib will be the next Amir-e-Muqami and Nazir Allah. My father loved all children of Hazrat Masih Maud, and most of the Sahaba had the same, feeling about the children of Hazrat Masih Maud, that they are pious and noble people, and they are the progeny of our beloved Imam, and so. So my father loved Hazrat Mirza Nasir Ahmad Sahib a lot. He also loved Mirza Rafi Ahmad Sahib, and he was very much, attracted towards Mirza Rafi Ahmad Sahib due to his beautiful recitation of the Holy Quran, his Darse Quran, and so on and so forth. When he was going to cast his vote for the next Khalifa, after the sad demise of the Khalifa Sani Radhiyallahu anhu, I asked him that who will you vote for? My father said, to Mirza Nasir Ahmad Sahib. I said, but you were inclined towards Mirza Rafi Ahmad Sahib more than any other children of Hazrat Muslim Maud. He said, true, how true you are. But last night Allah Ta'ala has told me that the new Khalifa, the next Khalifa would be Mirza Nasir Ahmad Sahib. So I am going to cast my vote in his favor, and this is what I have decided. I remember that in those days, before the election of Hazrat Khalifa Salis Rahimullah, we used to go to visit Hazrat Sayyid Mukhtar Ahmad Sahib, a Sahabi of Hazrat Masih Maslam of Shah Jahanpur. And day in and day out, he was talking on the subject of Khilafat and advising people that you must remain loyal to the Khilafat of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Association. At that time, when I was sitting with him and the election had to take next evening after Maghrib and Isha prayer, Hazrat Hafiz Sahib and so many other people were also there. Hazrat Hafiz Sahib, Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, he said to Sayyid Abdul Basit Sahib, he was Naib Muhtamim Muqami, and he lived in the same quarter where Hazrat Hafiz Sahib Mukhtar Ahmad Sahib lived. He said to Abdul Basit Sahib, Abdul Basit, give my message to Chaudhry Asdullah Khan Sahib. And you know what was the message? Very strange message. He said, tell Chaudhry Asdullah Khan Sahib, Amir Jamaat Lahore, that he should cast my vote also in the favor of the same person he is going to vote for. It was a very strange thing. Election has not yet taken place. It will take place after so many hours. And he is saying that tell Chaudhry Asdullah Khan Sahib that he should also cast my vote in the favor of the same person you are going to vote for. Now, who he is going to vote for? Then he looked at Sayyid Abdul Basit Sahib like this, he used to say, and he said, Abdul Basit, do you know who he is going to vote for? And Abdul Basit Sahib, what could he say? He kept quiet. Then Hazrat Hafiz Sayyid Mukhtar Ahmad Mukhtar Shah Jahanpuri, Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, said, he is going to vote for Mirza Nasir Ahmad Sahib. So this was again very strange thing. election has not yet taken place, and Hazrat Hafiz Sahib is revealing everything. Next day, anyway, to cut the whole story short, the election took place after Maghrib and Isha prayer. Hazrat Maulana Shams Sahib led the prayers, and then a message by Hazrat Sayyida Mubaraka Begum Sahiba was read out to the people to remain loyal and steadfast as far as Khilafat is concerned. And what I saw, this is what I would like to tell you, that the mosque was full of the friends, and they had flocked in thousands and thousands there. And in a large number to the north side of the mosque, where the Kasre Khilafat is situated, on that side, hundreds and thousands of people were standing there without any carpet, without any saf, without any prayer mat, etc. And I saw that just before the Salat started, Hazrat Sahib Zada Mirza Nasir Ahmed Sahib came from that side, from Kasre Khilafat, and he also stood there. There was no prayer mat, there was no saf, etc. And he stood there to offer his prayer. Anyway, the prayer was led. The moment prayer was concluded, I saw Chaudhry Asdullah Khan Sahib rushing towards Hazrat Sahib Zada Mirza Nasir Ahmed Sahib. He was crying like anything. He embraced him. And at that time, again, I recalled what Hazrat Hafiz Sahib had said, that whoever Chaudhry Asdullah Khan Sahib is going to vote for, tell him that he should vote my vote also in this favor of the same person. So this is how, what I'm saying, that Allah the Almighty, He guides the people. Outwardly saying, as I was saying, that people elect, but they are controlled by Allah Ta'ala. And they only vote whoever Allah wills to be the next Khalifa of the Jamaat. So this you should remember. Another incident, that how Allah Ta'ala guides His people. Amir Jamaat of Kababir, Sharif Oda Sahib, he mentioned this incident. I remember it very vividly. He said that I was also in the same situation as Amir Sir Mauritius, I mentioned earlier, that he never knew most of the people and in whose favor one should cast his vote. So he says that I was praying to Allah Ta'ala, and I saw that Hazrat Sahib Zada Mirza Masroor Ahmad Sahib, wherever he goes, a light of Allah Ta'ala, a nur from Allah Ta'ala is traveling and following him. Yet election had to take place. I was also there in the election. Anyway, he says, finally, just before the election, at the end, two people entered the mosque, Chaudhry Hamidullah Sahib, marhum, and Hazrat Sahib Zada Mirza Masroor Ahmad Sahib. And again I saw the light of Allah, the nur of Allah Ta'ala, was hovering on the head of Hazrat Sahib Zada Mirza Masroor Ahmad Sahib. He says that I was wonderstruck again, that what is happening? And when his name was proposed, and majority of the people, they voted for him, at that time I realized that this was the will of Allah Ta'ala. And he was informing me too that who is going to be the Khalifa. As I mentioned earlier, that immediately when a Khalifa is elected, Allah starts speaking with him. And Allah Ta'ala accepts his prayers. I tell you one thing, you may say that, well, old stories are being related here. This is not the case. I tell you a personal incident which took place in our family. You know my younger son, Tahir, who is a heart surgeon. And he's working these days in Plymouth. He's a Waqf-e Zindagi, inshallah ta'ala. Once he completes his studies, wherever Huzur will send him, he will go, because he is a Waqf Zindagi. Zahir Tahir, he sent a message, text message, on 16th of June 2020. I have noted down the minutes also. This is just to tell you that Allah always listens to the prayers of the Khalifa, and miracles take place. At 8:40 on 16th of June 2020, Zahir sent a text message that one of his patients, he is in ICU, and his operation was done shortly, but he is not feeling well. And maybe that will have to open his heart, his chest again, and do the operation again. And also he wrote that since 8 o'clock in the morning, I am busy in operations. I am too tired. And I request all the family members to please pray for this patient also. At 11:41, my son Tariq, he responded, Allah Fadl Kare. May Allah have mercy on him. At 8:43, my elder son, Kaleem Tahir, he answered, may Allah have mercy on both of you. And I, at 8:46, I responded, मैं सदका डाल रहा हूँ. Tariq, tell your Mamu, Shamsul Haq Sahib, to send a letter to Huzur to request for prayers that I'm giving sadqa. You can ask your Mamu, Shamsul Haq, who works in PS office, to drop a line for requesting for prayer for this patient. At 8:46, Tariq responded again, okay. At 8:48, Zahir responded, I am at work and have asked Rihanna, that is his wife, and have asked Rihanna to give sadqa. I have just received the lab results. It appears he is bleeding due to deficiency of platelets and clotting components in his blood. At 9:03, Tariq responded that fax sent to PS office. And then some of my children, they answered, I hope Huzur doesn't start thinking that Zahir is always writing about poorly patients after operating on them. And I responded, because I didn't like this answer, मैंने जवाब दिया कि हम फकीर हैं और मजबूर हैं, दुआ के लिए अर्ज करते हैं. हुजूर ऐसे नहीं सोचते. ठीक है कि हम बार बार हर पेचीदा ऑपरेशन के बाद सदका देते हैं. दुआ के लिए खिदमत अक़दस में PS के ख़ास दुआ वाले फ़ोन पर पैगाम भिजवाते हैं और बार बार कबूलियत दुआ का निशान देखते हैं. हमें दुआओं का ख़जाना मिला है, हम क्यों ना इससे फ़ायदा उठाएं. I said that we should not think in those terms. And we should always keep in mind that Huzur is a valuable treasure of acceptance of prayers. We must keep on humbly requesting him to pray whenever Zahir is asking for his patients to pray, and the situation is very critical. And remember this now, that after that, this patient about whom Zahir was writing that his situation is critical, he started recovering. You know, this is the miracle of the acceptance of prayers, that he started recovering, and after 3-4 days, he was discharged from the hospital. Another friend, he came to me. I was living in those days in South Hall Mission House. Waqas and his father, they were living in Hounslow Mission House, but his father was working for Al-Fadl International or so. So Sardar Bashir Ahmad Sahib, son of Fazl Sardar Meher Singh Sahib, he met me in South Hall Mission House. His daughter is still living there. And he said that one of my relatives, he was extremely upset. And he was traveling by sea in those days. And he was so much upset that at that time in the sea, on the ship, he wrote a letter to Hazrat Khalifa Salih Rahimahullah Ta'ala. And after writing a letter, since he knew that letter could not reach him in this way while he is on the deck and so what he did, he tore the letter into pieces and then he threw it in the sea. And he said, wow, तुम मेरा ये पैगाम हजरत खलीफा सालेह रहमतुल्लाह तक पहुंचा दो. And he addressed the sea and said to the blowing winds, convey my message to the Khalifa Salih rahimahullah ta'ala. And it is so strange that somehow the message reached him and his worries were over in a few days by the grace of Allah. Another personal incident which I would like to mention, I remember that Hazrat Mir Dausa was our principal of Jamia Ahmadiyya Rabwa. And Hazrat Mir Sahib, he, in the last few weeks, he insisted that our final class of Jamia Ahmadiyya should sit for Arabic, honors in Arabic exam. We said, Mir Sahib, we haven't read the syllabus. Even we don't have most of the books with us. But he said, no, you have to appear for the exam. Anyway, we went to Abbottabad because it was scorching heat in those days. It was so hot that it was rather impossible in Rabwa to stay there and then prepare for the exam. So we went to Abbottabad, stayed there and prepared whatever we could do. So after that, I remember during the annual Ijtima of Ansarullah, the results started reaching Rabwa. In those days, from Punjab University, postcards used to be sent to the individuals. And it was written there that you have passed, you have failed, and this and that. In our class, Bashir Akhtar Sahib, who's passed away now, and he received his postcard, and he informed Hazrat Mir Daud Ahmad Sahib that he was the most shining student of our class, very intelligent. He had this stipend, a wazifa from the government during his matriculation examination, and most shining student. He had 406 marks out of 600. And mind you, only 5 to 6% people used to pass this exam. Hazrat Mir Daud Sahib asked me that, Laiq Sahib, what about you? I said, Mir Sahib, I'm still waiting for the card. I haven't received the postcard. But before that, I tell you that I had in my mind, for some reason, that I must write to Hazrat Khalifa Salih Rahimahullah Ta'ala daily, without missing a day, requesting him to please pray for me. And I really wanted to see a miracle of his acceptance of his prayers. Next day, I received the postcard. I put it down and prayed to Allah Ta'ala that, oh my Lord, whatever the result is, I am happy with it. I have no complaint whatsoever. And then I read the card. And I was wonderstruck that this is what I'm telling you. These are the prayers of the Khalifa. You know, miracles take place. I was wonderstruck that I had stood second in the Punjab University and I had obtained 414 marks out of 600. It was not due to my intelligence or hard work, I tell you. I had this firm belief when I started, when first of all, I made up my mind that daily I'll request Hazur to pray for me. And then daily I went on writing letters requesting for prayers to Hazur without missing a single day. And then this was the result of that prayer of Hazrat Khalifa Salih, Ayyadullah Ta'ala Anhu. And on 5th of July 1967, Hazrat Khalifa Salis, Rahimullah Ta'ala, I had an audience with him because that was the day when Wakalat Tabshir had arranged for me to visit Hazur, because after 2 days I was leaving for London. That is 5th of July, 1967. And when I met Hazur, Hazur embraced me and he advised me that convey my message to one and all in UK, that all Ahmadis must keep a close living relationship with the Khalifa of the time. And then he said to me, tell them that whenever people go to the divines of the Jamaat, to Hazrat Maulana Raja Ki Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, and so on and so forth. So Hazrat Maulana Raja Ki always says to them and asks them, have you requested Huzur first of all? Before you come to me, have you requested your Khalifa? And then Hazrat Maulana Raja Ki Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, he used to say, remember this is what Huzur told me, that Hazrat Maulana Raja Ki Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu used to say, that my own prayers cannot reach Allah Ta'ala until unless they go through the threshold of the door of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Salis Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Asalazi. I'm saying Ayyadallah because he was alive at that time. So he said, my prayers are not acceptable at all until unless they go through the door of Khilafat. That means that against the will and the plan of the Khalifa, no prayer is acceptable today by Allah Ta'ala. Only such prayers would be accepted which are followed by the desire and prayers and will of the Khalifa. So I remember also that my father at home, whenever he received any distressing news from his family members, relatives, and so family friends, I used to notice as a child at that time that the very first thing he would do was to write a letter to the Khalifa Sani Muslim Maud Razillah Ta'ala Anhu, requesting him for prayer. And I am a witness to this statement. One could feel his worry and heartfelt desire to rush to PS office, Rabwa, and drop a letter there. Then he would engage himself in hard prayers, lamentations, and cries to Allah Ta'ala. Just to assure you that how important were the prayers of Hazrat Muslim Maud Razillah Ta'ala Anhu, let me tell you one incident. In 1957, my father was very seriously ill. At that time, he was suffering from diarrhea, and I was 13 or 14 years of age at that time. And Ghulam Muhammad Akhtar Sahib, who was Nazir-e-Ala at that time, he was sent by Hazrat Khalifa Sani Razillah Ta'ala Anhu to see my father. So, incidentally, in those days, there was a marriage ceremony in the family of Hazrat Masih Maud al-Islam. So my father gave a message to him to convey it to Hazrat Muslim Maud Razillah Ta'ala Anhu. And my father said that convey this message that whenever there was a happy occasion in the royal families during the Mughal times, always they celebrated their marriages and happy occasions by freeing a few slaves. Kuch ghulam azad kiya karte the. So my father said to him that tell Hazrat Khalifa Sani Razillah Ta'ala Anhu, convey my request to him that I am suffering so much, and he should pray to Allah Ta'ala that this humble slave should be freed and should attain good health. After that, remember, Hazrat Ghulam Muhammad Akhtar Sahib, he came back, he conveyed the message to my father that the message has been conveyed to Hazrat Muslim Maud Radhiyallahu Ta'ala anhu. And then my father lived for another 10 years. And I was here in 1968 when my father passed away in Rabwa, and he is buried in Bheshti Maqbara, Rabwa. So these are a few things which I thought that I should share with you. There are so many other things which can be discussed. I don't know how much time I have. If there is any time, I will continue. Vikas, how much time do I have?
I think you've got about
5 minutes, right.
5-10 minutes more, yeah.
All right, 5-10 minutes. Okay. Now remember one thing, that when I arrived here in 1967, there was our president in Glasgow, Muhammad Ayub Sahib. He was a very jolly fellow. And he had quite a few girls, no boy at all. And I remember we were sitting in the office of Bashir Rafiq Sahib, and we were discussing various things. And his daughters were the subject under discussion. I said to Hazrat Mian Mubarak Ahmed Sahib was also there, and other missionaries, some other missionaries were also there. I said to him that Hazrat Mir Muhammad Ismail Sahib Radhiyallahu Ta'ala anhu has written that if you name your last daughter as Bushra, Allah Ta'ala will grant you with a baby boy. When I was saying this thing to him, Hazrat Khalifa Saleh Rahimahullah, who was living upstairs, he was climbing down the staircase. He heard whatever I was saying. Huzur said, Allah beniyaz hai. He is all independent. Even though you name your last daughter as Bushra, if Allah wills to give you another daughter, He can. And then he said to Ayub Sahib that you remind me, I'll pray for you. As I said, he was a very jolly fellow. He said, Huzur, fir ek kudi ho jayegi. Again, there would be another daughter. And Huzur again said, no, keep on reminding me, keep on requesting for prayers, I'll pray for you. I tell you, on authority I am telling you, because I am a witness to this fact, that 3 months before the next child was born, the Khalifa Saleh Rahimullah, he wrote to him that name your son Abdullah, only one name. Name your son Abdullah, and you will be blessed with a baby boy. And he was blessed with a baby boy. Another lady from Middlesex, I remember that she came from Middlesex, and she was crying a lot. She was married to for one reason or the other, to a non-Ahmadi fellow. And she said that, Huzur, my husband says that if you cannot bear any children, then in that case, I am going to divorce you. And this lady, she said the report of the lab is that I am totally unable to bear any children, conceive any children in future at all. Hazrat Khalifa said, she was crying like anything, I remember. And then Hazrat Khalifa Saleh Rahimullah, he said, I'll pray for you. Don't you worry. We have a living Lord. He accepts our humble prayers. And then she was blessed with a baby boy. Huzur named him as Ibrahim. And he was living previously in Japan. I don't know where he is at the moment. One more incident, very interesting incident I would like to share with you. That Hazrat Hakim Muhammad Hussain Sahib Marham Isa, son of Hazrat Mian Chirag Din Sahib, Rais Lahore. Hazrat Mian Chirag Din Sahib, he is a person that Hazrat Masih Islam, long before he made any claim, he used to stay with him at his house in Lahore. And both of them were Sahabi. For one reason or the other, Hakim Muhammad Hussain Sahib Razillah Ta'ala anhu, he was persuaded after the sad demise of the Khalifa Awwal Razillah Ta'ala anhu by Lahoris, and he believed that there must not be any other, Khalifa at all. Only Sadr Anjuman is there to deal with all the affairs of the Jamaat. But in spite of the fact that he was a Sahabi, his father was a Sahabi, and Masih Islam used to stay with his father, but he was persuaded by these people, Maulvi Muhammad Ali Sahib, Khaja Kamaluddin Sahib, Dr. Mirza Yaqub Sahib, Dr. Sayyid Muhammad Hussain Sahib, surgeon, and Dr. Bashara, etc. And he was appointed as the missionary of Lahori Jamaat in Madras. And remember now, Maulvi Muhammad Ali Sahib used to pay this missionary of his 300 rupees per month, which was a huge, huge amount in those days. And another very rich person, a Seth, he used to pay him also 300 rupees. So with 600 rupees, he used to live like a prince. In 1920s, Maulvi Muhammad Ali Sahib sent a telegram to him that your father, Hazrat Mian Chiragdin Sahib, sadly has passed away. So come immediately to Lahore. He was leaving for Lahore, and the Seth said to him that Hakim Muhammad Hussain, don't you know that it will take 3 days from Madras to reach Lahore? And by that time, your father must have been buried. So what is the use of going there? He said, no, I must go there. Anyway, he reached Lahore. When he reached Lahore, he came to know that his father is buried in Bahishti Maqbara, Qadian. Immediately he left for Qadian. Now is the story which you must listen to it very carefully. He says that I was standing by the grave of my father. Suddenly I saw that my father has come out of the grave and he's standing by the headstone of the grave. And Hazrat Hakim Muhammad Hussain Sahib, he was wonderstruck that I am praying for my father and he's still alive and he's standing here. What is happening? And then his father said to him, Muhammad Hussain. He was puzzled what to do, because he believed that his father was already dead and he was praying on his grave. Then his father third time said very loudly, Muhammad Hussain. He said, Ji Mian Ji. He said, go and do bayat. Now remember that this is the person who is a missionary of Lahoris. This is a person who does not believe in Khilafat. This is a person who believes that Hazrat Sahibzada Mirza Mahmud Ahmad Sahib is not worthy of being a Khalifa. And his father, he is saying him, do bayat of Mirza Mahmud Ahmad. And he says to his father, okay Mian Ji, main hazir hoon. I am at your service and I am ready for this. And then the vision was over. Again, he was standing there alone at the grave of his father. And then he started thinking, what should I do? I do not believe in Khilafat. I only believe that Sadr Anjuman is worthy for that. And he was so much upset that what have I done? I have promised to my father that I will do bayat. So what should I do now? Finally, he decided, okay, since I have promised to my father that I will do bayat of Mirza Mahmud Ahmad Sahib, so I will go. He went to Gol Kamra. Those of you who know Masjid Mubarak, near the staircase there is a Gol Kamra. And that was the office of the Khalifa Sani Radhiyallahu Ta'ala anhu. So he sent a message to the Khalifa Sani and he said, I have come to do bayat. So the Khalifa Sani Radhiyallahu Ta'ala anhu took his bayat, and then he said, Ikhtilafat ahista ahista khatm ho jayenge. By and by, inshallah ta'ala, Allah will settle down all the problems which you have in your mind. So this was the prayer of Hazrat Hakim Muhammad Hussain Sahib. This was the incident of Hazrat Hakim Muhammad Hussain Sahib Razillah Ta'ala. I think the time is almost over now. So I should conclude here, though I have a few incidents also. I would love to continue, but due to time constraints, I should conclude here. Jazakumullah wa ahsanul jaza. Allah bless you all who are sharing with me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah, Laiq Tahir Sahib, for such a faith-inspiring lecture. We have a few questions come through. Firstly, could you kindly shed some light on the way that the Electoral College organizes and conducts a Khilafat election and the members that make up the Electoral College?
Right. So Electoral College was, first of all, announced by Hazrat Muslim Maud Razillah Ta'ala anhu. When he saw that after the sad demise of Hazrat Khalifa Razillah Ta'ala anhu, there had been so much hue and cry, in the Lahoris and so, and they were persuading other people that we don't need any Khilafat and so forth. So he, outlined the Electoral College. At that time, during the lifetime of Hazrat Khalifa Sani Razillah Ta'ala anhu, all Sahaba of Hazrat Masih Maud were the members of this Electoral College. During the time when Hazrat Khalifa Salis Rahimullah was elected as Khalifa, there were 150 Sahaba alive at that time. When Hazrat Khalifa Rabi Rahimullah Ta'ala was elected, there were just a few handful Sahaba who were alive. And all the heads of the department, they are, member of that Electoral College. All Nazir Sahiban, all Wokala Sahiban, Principal Jamia Ahmadiyya, all the heads of this, head of Waqf Jadid, and see. So all these people are the members of the Electoral College. And what happens that after the said demise of the Khalifa, when election is being held, the senior most person in service of the Jamaat, he leads the election. He chairs the election. At the time when Hazrat Khalifa Khamis Sayyidullah Ta'ala bin Asal Aziz was elected, Hazrat Chaudhry Hamidullah Sahib was the senior most Wakil-e-Ala, and senior most person. At the time of Hazrat Khalifa Rabi Rahimullah Ta'ala anhu, when he was elected, Hazrat Sahibzada Mirza Mubarak Ahmed Sahib was the senior most person who had to head this election. And Hazrat Mirza Aziz Ahmed Sahib was the senior most person at the time when the Khalifa Sani Razillah Ta'ala anhu passed away. So he chaired the election. So this is, the procedure in the Jamaat. And Khalifa of the time and time again, he keeps on reviewing all the, conditions regarding the people who can share the election. So this is the procedure in the Jamaat.
Jazakallah. There is one more question that's come through. That is, what is the best way that we can remain attached, loyal, and obedient to Khilafat?
Yes, that's very important question. Remember that always Hazrat Masih Maud and after him, all Khulafa, they have been laying emphasis on this point that people should spare their time to visit the Khalifa of the time. Sometimes people say, well, Khalifa is too busy and so we should not take much of his time. This is wrong. Always Khulafa they have said that I am available. When I am available, you should not, raise such excuses and you should come to visit me. But another thing which the Khalifa Awwal Radhiyallahu Ta'ala Anhu used to say, he used to say, true, that it is not possible that people living far off places, at far off places, they cannot come, but they can at least drop letters to him requesting for prayers. So, through letters we can, this is Adi Mulaqat, half Mulaqat, a letter is a half Mulaqat. So through these letters, we can have a sort of audience with the spiritual head of the movement. And this link is very important. Link with the Khalifa. The spiritual link is our lifeline, and we must keep it on. I remember I would like to tell you this incident of my father. He says that I daily used to write a letter to the Khalifa Awwal, Radhiyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, requesting him for prayer. He says in those days, we could buy a postcard for a paisa, single paisa. And daily, I used to drop a letter requesting him to pray for him. He said, I never knew that the Khalifa Awwal Radhiyallahu Ta'ala Anhu now knows me very well. So once the Khalifa Awwal Radhiyallahu Ta'ala Anhu said to certain people who had come to visit him that you should learn from Fazl Ahmad, that is my father's name, from Fazl Ahmad, that how he has inculcated love in my heart of hearts through letters. खतों के जरिए मोहब्बत सीख पैदा करना फजल अहमद से सीखो. So that was the instruction of the Khalifa Awwal. So if due to coronavirus or so we are unable to visit Huzur these days, at least through letters we can keep communion with the spiritual element. Such a great treasure of Allah Ta'ala. Such a great treasure of Allah Ta'ala. Priceless treasure is there. And if we do not avail, that is no good. So through letters and one thing more, lastly, we should daily pray for Huzur. If we are asking our beloved Khalifa to pray for us, we should not miss a single day to pray for him. We should always remember him in our prayers, his family, his wife, his children, grandchildren, and so on and so forth. So this is very important thing. I keep it on, I remember always. He is the priority in my prayers, that I must pray for my Khalifa, first of all, and then for the other family members. Okay, Wakas, is it all right?
Jazakallah again. I'm just going to hand over to Waqar Ahmadi Sahib now for the final remarks.
Jazakallah. Murrabi Sahib, as expected, we received more compliments than questions this evening. The viewers have been spellbound, I think, by a very captivating lecture, mashallah. Lots of lovely comments have come through. And as expected, again, there's lots of love and respect for you, mashallah. Very highly respected and much loved missionary of our Jamaat, alhamdulillah. You've obviously shared many inspiring examples and your own personal experiences of Khilafat, which I'm sure have further strengthened the faith of everyone listening tonight. So may Allah bless you with a long and healthy life. And obviously, may Allah also continue to bless our beloved Imam, Hazrat Khalifa al-Masih, Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasr Aziz, with a long and healthy life as well. Ameen. Just to give our viewers a heads up about our lectures that will be next week. So our Urdu lectures return next Monday. That will be the 14th of June. And that will be a lecture on the topic of the Battle of Uhud by Hafiz Muhammad Rasulullah Sahib, Murrabi-e-Silsila. That will also be at the normal time of 7:30 p.m. And then a week today, our next English lecture will be on the topic of charity in Islam, putting humanity first, by Dr. Azhar Sadiq Sahib, who is the Humanity First Walsall Food Bank Manager. So that'll be next Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. also. So please join us for those lectures next week. If I could please request our respected missionary, Laiq Ahmad Tahir Sahib, to please close the program tonight with a silent prayer.
Please join me hands. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma ameen. Jazakumullah wa ahsanal jazaa. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum.